Pause for a moment, Capricorn. Before you go further, breathe. This message has found you for a reason. If you're hearing these words right now, heaven is whispering your name in places you can't see. Something in the spiritual atmosphere has just shifted in your favor. Don't scroll, don't rush. This moment isn't ordinary. It's divine timing calling you. Type, "I receive this turnaround," in the comments right now. That small act of faith could be the key that unlocks what you've been waiting for. Because what's about to happen in your life will not make sense to the natural mind. You've been walking through a season where everything seemed to collapse at once. Things that once flowed smoothly started falling apart. People disappeared without explanation. Doors that were once open suddenly shut. But the truth is, what looked like rejection was redirection. The delay wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You were being positioned behind the scenes, trained in silence, molded through pressure, until heaven was ready to sign your name on the next chapter. Do you know how Thomas Edison felt when his entire laboratory burned to the ground? He stood there watching years of work consumed by fire. But instead of mourning, he said, "Thank God all our mistakes burned. We can start anew." Within weeks, he rebuilt everything, and out of those ashes came his most successful inventions. Capricorn, you've been walking through your own fire, but what you didn't realize was that the flames were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to refine you. You've endured nights that felt endless, moments when hope felt foreign, but while you were crying, something was happening in heaven's courtroom. Your name was being whispered across dimensions. Every sleepless night, every heartbreak, every sacrifice, none of it was wasted. Heaven has records, and yours has just been stamped approved. Remember Joseph, the man with the dream? His brothers betrayed him, threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and then he was imprisoned for something he didn't do. For years, nothing made sense. But when the time was right, Pharaoh himself called his name. In a single moment, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister. He didn't chase destiny, destiny found him. Capricorn, the same divine order is now moving toward you. You've been asking why everything slowed down, why opportunities dried up, why people you trusted suddenly turned cold. It's because heaven hides the chosen during preparation. God doesn't let the enemy see your rise before it's sealed. When your name is being signed in the spirit, everything on earth pauses. You've been in that pause, a divine stillness before a storm of blessings. Think of Oprah Winfrey, told early in her career that she was fit for television. Rejected, mocked, dismissed. But rejection became her redirection. Every door that closed pushed her toward the one that would never shut again. Capricorn, you've been standing before closed doors, unaware that a bigger one was being built just for you. The ones who walked away weren't meant to witness your rise. They were meant to clear your space. Heaven has been watching your endurance. Every time you kept believing when logic said stop, a line was written under your name in light. Each time you forgave, another mark of favor was added. Now the document is complete. The pen has lifted. The divine seal is dry. Something has been signed concerning you, and it cannot be reversed. But the strangest thing about divine timing is that it rarely announces itself. It creeps in quietly, disguised as ordinary days. You'll feel it as restlessness first, a sudden energy, a pull toward something undefined. You'll start seeing signs in unexpected places, conversations aligning perfectly, strangers speaking words that echo your private thoughts. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmations. When heaven calls your name, the echo doesn't start outside, it begins within. That sudden shift in your spirit, that burst of hope for no reason, that peace that feels supernatural, it's the vibration of your new season forming around you. Think of Morgan Freeman. For decades he played small roles, background parts never fully seen. Then one role changed everything, and suddenly the world called him legend. The truth, he was legendary long before the world noticed. He just needed time to be revealed. That's you, Capricorn, hidden but never forgotten, buried but never dead. Your reveal is coming. There's a sacred pattern in destiny, silence before sound, waiting before wonder. Before David ever held a crown, he held a sling. Before Esther ever wore royal robes, she endured isolation. Before Jesus performed miracles, he spent years unknown. Every great name in history walked through hiddenness. Every chosen soul was first refined in secret. That's why this week feels heavy. It's the weight of transition. Something in your atmosphere is shifting, recalibrating, preparing. You've been faithful with little, and now heaven trusts you with more. But the truth is, breakthrough isn't loud, it's sudden. It shows up as peace in the middle of chaos, as favor in places where you were once ignored. You might not know it yet, but there are conversations happening about you in rooms you've never entered. Names are being mentioned, doors are unlocking quietly, and people who once overlooked you are being instructed to remember you. It's a supernatural recall, an invisible magnet drawing resources, opportunities, and divine partnerships toward you. You've been tested through betrayal, Capricorn. You've lost people you thought were permanent. You've had to start over from scratch. But look at history. Every empire, every dynasty, every legacy began with a fall. The Roman Empire rose from ruins, America was born after revolution, and diamonds are created under unbearable pressure. You're in your diamond-making season. The silence around you isn't absence, it's construction. Heaven is building something around your name so sacred that even you can't interfere with it. That's why nothing made sense. That's why prayers seemed unanswered. Because it wasn't time for answers, it was time for alignment. Now something inside you is awakening. You can feel it, that pull toward change, that knowing that something is about to happen, but you can't explain what. It's your spiritual senses catching the vibration of breakthrough. But remember, Capricorn, breakthrough often begins disguised as breakdown. Before the dawn, there's darkness. Before the bloom, there's burial. You've been buried long enough. Heaven has written your release date, and that date is now. Yet before your miracle appears, there's always one last test, the silence test. Can you stay in peace when nothing moves? Can you trust the signature even when you can't see the stamp? That's where you are right now, between the writing and the revealing. Every great destiny has a hidden pattern of opposition. David had Saul, Moses had Pharaoh, Nelson Mandela had prison. Even modern figures like Steve Jobs were exiled from the very companies they built, only to return with greater power. That's the rhythm of divine timing, loss before legacy. You may not have realized it, but every person who underestimated you was a key in disguise. Without their doubt, you wouldn't have developed such resilience. Without betrayal, you wouldn't have learned discernment. Without loss, you wouldn't have recognized what was truly yours. This week is sacred. You'll notice small shifts, unexpected peace, a sudden message, a surprising opportunity. Don't ignore them. These are not random. They're divine fingerprints marking the start of your turnaround. Heaven is subtle, but when it moves, everything rearranges. Look closely at your life right now. You've been seeing repeated numbers, strange coincidences, dreams that feel too real to ignore. The universe speaks in patterns, and this pattern is pointing to something major. You've reached the tipping point, the place where endurance transforms into evidence. Every spiritual signature carries an energy release, and this week, that energy will find you. Things that were stagnant will begin to flow again. People who forgot you will suddenly reach out. The projects that were delayed will find funding. Because when God signs something, no human can unsign it. This signature is different. It's not just for survival, it's for elevation. Heaven isn't just returning what you lost, it's upgrading what you were meant to carry. You're stepping into your builder's anointing, your Joseph moment, where your wisdom will open financial and spiritual doors. But understand, this moment isn't random. It's been written since the beginning. Before you were born, there was a chapter titled Turnaround Week. Everything you've lived until now has been leading you here. You've been faithful in the wilderness, Capricorn. You kept building when no one noticed, kept giving when no one thanked you, kept believing when evidence said quit. Heaven has watched that faithfulness, and now the invisible becomes visible. Every powerful story has a moment where the hero almost gives up. Think of J.K. Rowling writing in cafes with her baby in her arms, rejected 12 times before her words built an empire. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who lost more elections than he won before leading a nation through war. Think of Job, who lost everything but refused to curse God, and in the end, received double. These aren't coincidences. They're reminders that endings are illusions when God is the author. And here you are, Capricorn, standing on the edge of your divine rewrite. The heavens have signed your name, and now the earth must respond. Your enemies have already begun to lose their grip. The ones who plotted against you are confused because what was meant to bury you has become your platform. They can't understand how you're still standing, but what they don't know is that heaven signed your endurance as proof of authority. You earned your throne in silence. Even nature aligns with divine signatures. When God told Noah to build an ark, people laughed until the rain came. When he called Abraham to leave everything, it made no sense until he became the father of nations. When he anointed David, it was done in secret while his brothers watched, unaware that heaven had chosen the least expected one. That's how heaven works. It hides greatness in plain sight. Capricorn, that's what's happening now. You're being recognized in places where your name was once ignored. The vibration of your destiny is echoing through time, calling everything that belongs to you back into alignment. You've been sowing in tears, and now you're about to reap in visibility. But hear what few understand. The signature of God isn't noisy, it's quiet. It happens while you're sleeping, while you're praying without words, while you're walking through your ordinary routine. Suddenly, everything starts connecting. That's what's unfolding right now. The pressure you've been feeling isn't punishment, it's a spiritual birth. You're giving birth to influence, to abundance, to purpose. That's why it's been uncomfortable. That's why you've been restless, because new life is always preceded by labor. You've been carrying prophetic weight, and this week, that weight begins to lift. The people meant to align with your purpose will start appearing. The opportunities meant to elevate you will recognize your name. You won't have to chase. What's yours will chase you. There's a moment in every divine story when heaven pauses, just before manifestation, to ensure the heart is ready. That's the pause you've been living in. The divine signature has been sealed. The announcement is next. Capricorn, heaven has recorded your tears. Every sacrifice has been noted. And now, the great reversal begins. You've reached the point where your suffering becomes your sermon, your pain becomes your power, and your story becomes someone else's faith. Even as you hear these words, your spirit knows something has changed. You can't explain it, but you feel it. The air feels different, lighter, charged, because something invisible just acknowledged your name. Heaven doesn't sign without purpose, and this signature, this one carries wealth, recognition, divine favor, and restoration. It carries peace after chaos. It carries validation after mockery. It carries visibility after years of being unseen. And though you can't see it yet, it's already done. The documents are sealed, the scrolls are written, and your destiny is now in motion. Every rejection, every loss, every sleepless night, it all led to this moment. You are standing at the edge of manifestation. You are the proof that divine timing never fails. Stay connected. Speak it into existence in the comments. Heaven has signed my breakthrough, because your words release the energy that accelerates what's already yours. The vibration of your turnaround is already echoing across dimensions. The blessing has been stamped. The doors are trembling. The shift has begun. Before you even blink, pause and feel what's happening around you. Something in your life is changing, and you can sense it even if you can't explain it. The air feels heavier, yet lighter at the same time. There's a strange mix of peace and anticipation flowing through you, like you're waiting for something you can't name. That's not imagination, Capricorn. That's divine movement. And before we go any further, do something powerful. Type, "I receive this energy" in the comments. That simple action aligns your spirit with the message that's being released into your life right now. Because when you participate, you don't just hear, you activate. You've been through seasons that broke every piece of you, and yet, somehow, you're still standing. You've walked through fire that should have turned you into ashes, but instead it purified your purpose. You've survived losses that looked permanent. People left, opportunities vanished, promises crumbled, but what you didn't see was the hidden hand getting all of it. Every heartbreak was a redirection. Every closed door was a shield. Every delay was divine choreography. There's something strange about divine timing. It looks like nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is shifting at once. Think of David, forgotten by his own family, left in the fields tending sheep while his brothers stood before the prophet. Yet destiny doesn't need witnesses. When the oil was poured, it found him where he was, not where others thought he should be. Capricorn, that same anointing is searching for you right now. The world may not see your name yet, but heaven already does. And that's why the last few months have felt like chaos. You've been in transition, but you didn't recognize it because transitions often disguise themselves as warfare. When heaven prepares to lift you, resistance increases. It's like an airplane. Before it takes off, the engine roars loudest. The turbulence you've been feeling isn't destruction, it's elevation. Think about J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she was broke, depressed, and living on welfare. Every publisher rejected her work. But rejection wasn't failure, it was spiritual delay. Each no was the universe saying not yet, because what was meant for her couldn't happen in the wrong season, and that's what's been happening with you, Capricorn. The no's weren't punishment, they were protection. But here, where it gets deep, every time you thought you were losing something, heaven was writing a hidden covenant, a spiritual contract signed in silence. You didn't see the signature, but you felt the shift. That moment when something inside whispered, "Keep going," even when everything said quit, that was heaven's confirmation that your name was being written in the light. There's an invisible system in the universe that records endurance. Every tear, every act of faith, every time you chose love over bitterness, it all becomes evidence in your favor. And this week, that evidence is being presented in spiritual court. You don't even realize how close you are to being vindicated. The pain you endured has reached its divine expiration date. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, forgotten by many, mocked by the powerful. But when the time came, the same world that rejected him bowed to his name. That's what divine signatures do, they flip the narrative without warning. Capricorn, you're entering your Mandela moment. The same people who ignored your existence will soon reference your name. Do you notice how quiet your life has been lately? The people who used to call you don't anymore. The energy around you feels strange, almost like you've outgrown your environment. That's because you have. The silence isn't punishment, it's separation. Heaven isolates before it elevates. You're not being left behind, you're being set apart. There's a story that few know about the eagle. When it senses that a storm is coming, it doesn't hide. It flies higher, above the clouds, where the storm cannot reach it. While other birds panic, the eagle uses the wind of the storm to lift itself higher. That's the season you're in. The winds that came to break you will end up carrying you. Even the way your dreams have shifted lately means something. Have you noticed how your desires no longer align with your old goals? You used to chase validation. Now you crave peace. You used to measure success by numbers. Now you measure it by alignment. That's evolution. Your spirit has outgrown old timelines. That restlessness you feel isn't confusion. It's your inner self calling for relocation. In every major story, the chosen one always faces a moment of collapse before the crown. Job lost everything before he saw restoration. Esther faced annihilation before she wore the crown. Moses was exiled before he led a nation. Even Jesus was silent before resurrection. The pattern never changes, death before destiny. And Capricorn, you've been walking through that very pattern. You were buried, but not dead. You were hidden, not forgotten. And now heaven is positioning you in places you didn't even pray for. You're being remembered by people who once overlooked you. Conversations about you are happening where your feet haven't yet stepped. Destiny has a way of speaking your name in rooms you've never entered. You'll begin to notice this week, people returning, offers reappearing, opportunities resurfacing. It won't make sense, because it's not logic, it's alignment. Have you ever noticed how when the tide changes, everything on the shore rearranges itself? Shells move, stones shift, the sand smooths out again. That's your life right now. The tide is changing. Everything that's been chaotic is about to settle into divine order. But before it does, the water has to move violently. The shaking isn't destruction, it's preparation. Do you remember the story of Steve Jobs? He was fired from Apple, the very company he built. That exile broke him, yet it birthed his greatest creativity. When he returned, he didn't just rebuild Apple, he redefined the world of technology. That's divine reversal. Capricorn, your exile was necessary because your next version couldn't emerge where you were wounded. Every chosen soul goes through a season of being misunderstood. People question your decisions, your silence, your vision, but they don't realize you've been hearing instructions they can't hear. The universe has been giving you coded messages, numbers repeating, songs that speak directly to your soul, dreams that feel like prophecy. You're not crazy, you're being guided. When heaven is about to reveal something major, it speaks through patterns. Have you been seeing certain times on the clock? 3:33, 4:44, 11:11. That's not random. It's the spiritual system tapping you on the shoulder, saying, it's almost time. These sequences are timestamps of your unfolding destiny. They're countdowns to manifestation. Something about this week is different. You'll feel the shift in subtle ways. The phone call that changes everything. The sudden peace after weeks of confusion. The unexpected idea that won't leave your mind. That's the breakthrough making its entrance quietly. Because when divine power moves, it doesn't need noise, it moves in precision. The most mysterious part of this journey is that heaven doesn't always use who you expect. Sometimes the person you least expect becomes your divine connection. Sometimes the opportunity you almost ignore becomes the key. That's why discernment is vital right now. Pay attention to what feels small. It may be the seed of something enormous. You've carried dreams that felt too heavy for too long. There were days you nearly gave up. Nights when you asked, why me? But you didn't realize your calling required weight. Heavy crowns are only placed on strong heads. You were being trained to handle what others couldn't. That's why it seemed unfair. Heaven doesn't invest in what won't last. Capricorn, there's a strange beauty in what's happening around you right now. It's the beauty of divine paradox. Things look worse, yet your spirit feels stronger. The path seems unclear, yet your intuition has never been sharper. That's not confusion, it's clarity dressed as mystery. Heaven often hides revelation inside contradiction. Remember how David fought lions and bears before facing Goliath? Those smaller battles were training for a public victory. Every small fight you survived was conditioning for the bigger one coming. You're about to face something greater, but this time you'll win in one strike. Because this isn't the season of endurance, it's the season of evidence. Even your emotions have been signaling change. The sudden exhaustion, the moments where your body forces you to rest, those aren't random. When a new frequency of blessing is approaching, the body slows down to adjust. You're not lazy, you're recalibrating. The spiritual is merging with the physical, preparing your vessel for overflow. And isn't it strange how some people suddenly disappeared just before things began to shift? That's divine disconnection. They weren't removed, they were replaced by alignment. God never takes without returning double. You'll soon see new faces that carry the energy of destiny. People who see you, understand you, and match your frequency. The hidden truth is that you've already crossed the spiritual line. What you're waiting for has already happened in the unseen. The reason you feel restless is because your spirit has already stepped into the future while your body is catching up. That's why time feels strange. That's why days blur. You're walking between dimensions. And as you move through this transition, everything that isn't aligned will start falling away naturally. Old habits, old fears, old environments, they can't follow where you're going. Don't fight the release, it's sacred. Heaven prunes before promotion. But let's make this real. Do you know how Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before someone finally accepted his recipe? At an age when most retire, he started his empire. That's how divine timing works. It doesn't care about age or statistics. When it's your turn, it's your turn. You've entered the vibration of your turn. Everything will begin aligning suddenly. Your intuition will lead you to be in the right place at the right time. Divine coincidences will multiply. That's how heaven operates, synchronization through seeming randomness. And it's not just about success. This turnaround carries healing. Emotional wounds that ran deep are beginning to close. Relationships that broke you will no longer have power over your peace. The weight you carried in silence will start to lift. You'll breathe differently, you'll think differently, because this isn't just a new season, it's a new system. You might start to notice certain people watching you again, trying to re-enter your space. Some will come disguised as helpers, but discern their spirit. Not everyone who claps is for you, some are there to study your glow. This new level requires boundaries sharper than before. Protection isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. Capricorn, this next move of your life won't need you to chase anything. It'll come to you. You'll magnetize it because your frequency has shifted. You'll attract peace, abundance, and opportunities simply by existing in alignment. That's the reward of surviving divine training. You become the blessing. But before the release fully manifests, there's always a final test. The test of faith in silence. The test of trusting the signature before the stamp is revealed. You might wake up one more time feeling uncertain, wondering if you imagine the signs. That's when you must remember, the breakthrough always hides right behind disbelief. So stay grounded, stay expectant, and keep declaring your faith aloud. Your words are spiritual codes that open unseen doors. Speak life daily. Speak your destiny like it's already done, because in the unseen, it already is. You can sense it, can't you? That invisible hum in your atmosphere, the quiet whisper that keeps saying, something is coming, you're not wrong, the air has shifted, heaven has already moved, the curtain is about to rise. And just as you begin to grasp what's really unfolding, as you start to feel that divine certainty deep in your bones, something unexpected begins to stir, something you didn't see coming, something so precise, so personal, it leaves you breathless. The air around you feels charged, Capricorn, a vibration so subtle yet so powerful that it resonates deep within your bones. Something monumental is unfolding, though the world around you seems unaware. Before you go any further, take action, type, I receive my breakthrough in the comments. By declaring it, you engage your spirit with the unseen forces now aligning to your favor. This is no ordinary season. It is divine orchestration at its highest. You've been walking through invisible battles, enduring moments that seemed unfair and circumstances that appeared to conspire against you. Yet every setback, every closed door, every person who walked away was not rejection, but preparation. Just like Esther, who sat in quiet isolation before the moment of her rise, your silence has been your anointing. The unseen was shaping your destiny even when the visible world seemed frozen. Every trial, Capricorn, has been a refining fire. Like diamonds formed under immense pressure, your spirit has been sculpted into brilliance. Consider Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, underestimated and mocked, yet destined to lead a nation. You too have been living your Mandela moment quietly, your strength unseen but growing, your breakthrough nearing with unstoppable force. Remember Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, forgotten in prison, overlooked by the world. And yet when the appointed moment arrived, Pharaoh called his name and elevation followed. Capricorn, your spiritual prison has already shifted. Your liberation is being orchestrated. Every silent tear, every act of faith, every time you held on when all seemed lost, has built the stage for your divine revelation. Subtle signs have been getting you, unnoticed by your conscious mind. Patterns repeating in dreams, synchronicities in conversations, numbers appearing with frequency. These are the universe communicating, aligning every piece of your life with precision. Your endurance has been documented in heaven, and the signature of breakthrough has been applied to your life. You will soon notice small, inexplicable changes, an unexpected message, a sudden opportunity, clarity where there was confusion. These are not coincidences. They are the early fingerprints of divine orchestration. Like Steve Jobs, exiled from Apple only to return and revolutionize technology, your setbacks were your training ground. The universe has been preparing you for the perfect launch into your next level. Restlessness, subtle anxiety, or a feeling of anticipation is normal. It is the tension of transition, the space between preparation and manifestation. Like an eagle rising above the storm, Capricorn, the turbulence is what will lift you higher. The energy that seemed heavy is now the wind beneath your wings, and every move you make aligns with forces that cannot fail. Your body, your mind, your spirit are all recalibrating, ready for the acceleration that is about to come. Every relationship, every encounter, every connection is now moving in unseen ways. People who doubted you, who tried to minimize your efforts, are fading out, while those aligned with your purpose are gravitating toward you. The universe is orchestrating meetings, conversations, and opportunities so precise that they will appear miraculous. You will notice them as moments that cannot be coincidence, moments that confirm you have entered a new season. The wisdom you have gained in silence and struggle is preparing you to recognize what others will miss. The betrayals have sharpened your discernment. The loneliness has strengthened your intuition. The patience has refined your timing. Every lesson, every hardship, every tear was carefully placed by the unseen hand to prepare you for your emergence. Even your emotions signal the shift. Sudden surges of joy, unexpected clarity, moments when you feel both fear and excitement, these are your indicators. They are the universe's way of telling you that the next step is approaching and that your readiness has been confirmed. Your spirit senses the unseen movements, and your intuition is now your compass toward destiny. The people, the places, and the opportunities are moving into position. Conversations are being orchestrated, doors are aligning, and even small coincidences are multiplying into undeniable proof. Like J.K. Rowling, whose persistence through countless rejections eventually led to a world-changing phenomenon, your patience and faith are about to translate into unprecedented manifestation. The breakthrough is not just about what you will gain, but who you are becoming. It is restoring your strength, refining your focus, and positioning your spirit to carry blessings that are far greater than what you have imagined. This is why heaven delays and designs, so that when the moment arrives, it is perfect in timing, precision, and power. Your faith is the key that opens what has been locked. Every word you speak, every declaration of belief, every action of trust acts as a catalyst that activates the signature already written in your life. Engage with your reality now, declare your victories, and speak your destiny into being. The universe listens, and your alignment will accelerate the manifestation of what is due. Even the last remnants of struggle are now dissolving. People, habits, fears, and environments that no longer serve you are naturally moving out of your space. The pruning is sacred, making room for the abundance and alignment that will step in seamlessly. You are being elevated to a level that requires clarity, strength, and discernment, and the universe is preparing it all perfectly. As you sense the shift around you, the air tingling with anticipation, the subtle synchronizations in your life, and the magnetic pull toward destiny, you will know that your breakthrough is not just coming, it is already moving. The unseen has set everything in motion, and your role is to remain faithful, alert, and ready to receive. Even now, without your conscious control, every element of your life is being aligned. Opportunities, recognition, resources, and people are converging toward your favor. Like a hidden script being played out in perfect timing, everything is arranging itself to confirm your rise. The world may not yet understand, but heaven already has. And as the energy grows, as your awareness sharpens, and as the subtle forces around you begin to manifest tangibly, something unprecedented begins to stir. It is a force so precise, so personal, and so undeniable that it leaves you in awe. The atmosphere changes, the currents shift, and the moment you have been anticipating begins to awaken, closer than you have ever felt before.